Well, hello, everybody. Good morning. It is episode 27 of the Coronavirus and the Independent Retailer podcast. I am your host, Bob Nagan, and I want to thank you for being here. I'm honored that you're sharing your time with me, and I want to congratulate you. You know what I'm going to say, don't you? We are now one day closer to the end of this thing. One more day, baby, one more day. So today I'm going to talk about a big mistake that I made yesterday, and I'm going to correct it here on the podcast. But first, I want to talk about a couple of other things. The right sizing that I realized that I talked about, I don't even know what episode, week and a half ago. I said, a lot of stores are going to close. There's a lot of excess inventory in pipelines, and it's all going to have to shake itself out, right? These are all the realities that are happening, and they're all going to have to find their way through to the other end. And it looks like Neiman Marcus is going to declare bankruptcy possibly today. I didn't check. Maybe they even did it yesterday. The big venerable, vulnerable stores are going to start to drop. And that's good news and that's bad news. I hate to see, a stalwart retail chain like Neiman Marcus, started by a real merchant. Hate to see it end. And it may not end. Bankruptcy does not necessarily portend liquidation. But things are changing. And just recognize that there is opportunity in every change. There may be less dollars in the economy for a while, but there will be less places to spend it. And if you do a great job of being the best option, you will do really well. The other thing that I want to talk about real quickly is I was talking to my friend Dan Hausman from Payrock, and Payrock is our credit card processing partner, and we absolutely love them. We use them. We recommend them to everyone, and they have a one beat or meet guarantee. So if you email whizbang at Payrock, and there's not a K on the back of PAYCOR.com, whizbang at Payrock, and talk to Dan. If they can't match or beat the rate that you're getting from your credit card processor right now, they'll give you $1,000. I mean, we love everything they do. We love the way that they do business. And I just said to Dan, Dan, I'd be happy to talk about it on my podcast. It's of service to you. I'd encourage you, whizbang at payrock.com. So let's talk about my big mistake. Yesterday, as you recall, I talked about perspective points, and I shared with you what I thought my 3 perspective points are. A perspective point is a message, a perspective that you reinforce constantly to people you are trying to influence. And you should have, Brendan Burchard recommended you should have 3, no more than 3 perspective points with your family, with your team, with your customers. What are the 3 things you really want them to remember? And what I thought about it, and I thought the 3 perspective points I wanted to share with you during this pandemic are: 1, the whole assess, adjust, and advance mindset, keeping you focused on where you really are so that you can advance. Number 2, we're one day closer. I talk about this every podcast. We are one day closer. Every night at dinner, we raise our glass of wine and say, one day closer, because this is going to end, and we're one day closer to it. And the third one I talked about, perspective points yesterday, was I talked about perspective and this whole idea of you're not your business. And we as entrepreneurs tend to get too tied up, both with our self-worth and just in general, our mind state and our mindset around what's happening in our business. the quality of our business determines the quality of our life. And, we just sort of had a conversation around maybe that's not the best way to live your life, because at the end of the day, it's just business. And while I think perspective is incredibly important, I'm going to drop that off of my list of the perspective points I'm going to share with you through the end of this podcast. Or we're going to transition this coronavirus podcast into another kind of podcast. And I'm replacing perspective with hustle. Hustle. It's all about the hustle. So last night we had a virtual cocktail party, happy hour, with our Platinum Mastermind group. And we're on Zoom and we're talking, and one person gave us a tour of her new store, and it's just wonderful. We do a weekly check-in, but this was looser and more fun and more conversational and more casual. But the thing that struck me about 2/3 of the way through this happy hour was everybody in that group is hustling. They're making something happen. In good times, I'm always preaching you're responsible for your traffic. Well, now it becomes even more important that you make money, and you make money by hustling. So I define hustle as the ability to generate sales where there seemingly are none, right? There's a recognition that there's money out there, and you're going to go out and find it. So let me tell you a story. In the early days of the Mackinac Kite Company, the first year I was in the retail business, I did $17,000 that first season, total. Not the first month, the first season. My first year in business, annual sales, $17,000. The kite store, nobody knew what a kite store was. It was around the corner, terrible location. Everything about it was wrong. But Steve and I knew how to hustle, my brother Steve. So if there was nobody in the store, the Dixie Tavern was right next to our store. So here's the doors to our store. There's all the Dixie Tavern. There's all windows. It's lined by windows. And we had this crazy timber. It's an ornithopter, right? And so we would wind up the ornithopter and throw it so that it would fly in front of the windows. And everybody in the restaurant would see our timbers fly. And then Steve would fly it back. And then we would point to our store and go, you can buy these here. It seems silly, but guess what? It worked. It worked. That's the hustle. The hustle is, I don't know, there's nobody here. Where's the money? I'm going to go find the money. And then we learned the hustle when we had a store full of people and nobody were buying. That same timber. If we had a store full of people and everybody was just looking, I would grab a timber. The display was right in front of the door. I would grab a timber that was open and I'd say, hey, everybody, come on outside. And I'd throw the timber, and I threw it 3 times. It was, I had it down. This is the hustle, right? The hustle is getting it out. Threw it 3 times, and after it flew the third time, I went, come on inside. And then everybody would walk past the display and pick up timbers. That's the hustle. That's the mentality. That's the mentality I was blessed with. That hustle mentality. Maybe it's because I come from an old farming family, but that's the idea. And I see this happening all the time in this community. People who have never tried a Facebook Live are doing Facebook Lives. People are finding new new kinds of merchandise to bring in. People are trying all sorts of crazy promotion. People are doing delivery. People are doing curbside pickup. People are doing clienteling. People are hustling. Hustling is the recognition that there's money there. It's not coming to you, so by golly, how are you going to find it? It's there. They want to shop with you. I can't tell you how many times on Whiz Bang Retailers on that Facebook group, people say things like, wow, people are really supporting me. People are really supporting me. Ladies and gentlemen, people want to support you. Now is the time to start hustling. Now is the time to start, really, going after the money. Things are loosening up. things are loosening up. We're hearing that some states are, easing their orders. You need to be safe. You need to be a good member of your community. But now is the time to hustle. Now is the time to grab that market share. Now is the time to get really, really proactive. Yes, you still have the right to have your crawl up into a ball and cry for a couple hours. You have a right to those moments. You have a right to panic. You have, for a moment, you have a right to experience all the emotion you are experiencing. But just take it, move on. Move on. The hustle. The hustle. So that's my message for today. So it's assess, adjust, and advance. Assess is looking where you are. Adjusting is, changing things so that you can move forward. But the hustle is really where that is part of that adjustment. So I really hope that, in fact, if you're watching this right now and you wouldn't mind writing down, what are you doing to hustle? This afternoon, we're doing a community forum. Susan and I are going to be here at 1 o'clock. Hopefully, you're going to be there. And that's what we're going to talk about. What do we do now? Let's move forward. Let's start planning for the future. Let's start planning for that reopen. What's the hustle? What hustle can we do now that will lead to more sales down the road? Remember, we're one day closer. Now's the time to... What do they say? Gird your loins. I don't know, that doesn't sound right at all. But that's an old... Anyway, now's the time to get ready, baby, right? I mean, now's the time. Now is the time. I'm feeling it. I hope you're feeling it. But it needs something more from you. It needs the hustle. Remember, we're all in this together. And every day we do this, we get smarter, we get better, we get closer to the end. So I hope that you found that helpful. I hope that you're hustling. If you're not hustling, I hope that today's podcast inspires you to do some new things, to try some new things. If you're already hustling, good for you. I want to challenge you. What else can you do? How else can you hustle? How can you bring in even more money and do even more with what you already have? So that's my challenge today. Hope to see you at the community forum at 1 o'clock. And as always, thanks for being here, and we'll see you tomorrow.